Thank you very much, Edward. Thank you very much for your time, for this opportunity, and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Great. You know, I was saying that you have a lot of stuff. You work with Cassius, with Giro, with Michael Gray, Robert Rivera, Moloko. You know, Moloko that was very popular too.
Moloko, yes. Axwell, yes.
Yeah. I want to know how did you start working with Cassius?
So I was working with a guy in the late 90s. I was working with a guy called Charles Webster. And Charles Webster was like a house electronic producer in the city of Nottingham, in where Sherwood Forest, where Robin Hood is from, in Nottingham. And we started working together in the late 90s. And we had an act called Presence. And we did an album. Called All Systems Gone, which was a great album, great electronic album. And we did a festival. We played in a festival in Istanbul, in Europe, in Turkey. And at the festival, this was in 1999. And at the festival, there was us, Presence. Roger Sanchez was playing. Basement Jaxx were playing. Cassius were playing. All these great, these great acts. And we did our set. We played really well. We came off stage. We were in the the green room, at the back. And Philippe Zadar from Cassius came across. I was a big fan of Cassius anyway. They'd just done their first album, called 1999, of course. And Philippe Zadar, he came across to us and he said to us he was a big fan of our album, which was great, and I was like, wow, it's Philippe Zadar, and I'm a big fan of you, and I said to him, I remember I was scratching my head, I was thinking, I know that you did your last album, it might have been 2000, something like that. I know you've done you must be working on your second. Are you working on your second album, Philippe? Said, yes, I'm working on the second album. And I just said, if you ever need any vocals or anything or whatever, give me a call.
I'm here.
I'm here. But I didn't really, I didn't really expect to hear from him, to be honest. He was in Paris, I'm in Sheffield in England. So we went back home, and a couple of months later, I got a phone call, and it was Philippe Zadar. And he said, we'd like you to come over to Paris and work with us in the studio and see what happens. And I was like, of course, wow, amazing. So I went to Paris. I spent about a week there, and it was the best time ever. And so the hotel that they put me in, I was staying in this hotel, and every morning, I'd go down to the cafe at the bottom of the hotel on the street and wait for Philippe to come and pick me up to drive me to the studio. And this one morning, I was sat in the cafe where the sun was shining, and all these, it was in an area called Montmartre. And Montmartre is like a very artistic area, very bohemian, very artistic, people painting on the streets and, doing portraits of people, and it's wonderful. A lot of hustle and bustle, very lively, very loud, very cosmopolitan, a lot of tourists. And I remember I was sat and I had my pad, my pen and my paper, and I was like writing down these just words, just like, it was almost like poetry, just words were just coming out from somewhere. And I was listening to the people talking. And of course, everybody was talking French, so I couldn't understand the word they were saying. But it sounded like, because they were very, people sounded very excited and, being where they were, it almost sounded like people were fighting and arguing, and and kind of, just because of the sound.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I just wrote down, it sounds like violence on this pad. I just wrote that, sounds like violence.
Yeah.
And then I looked at that, sounds like violence. And then I wrote sound like silence. And then think there's a song by, do you know Simon and Garfunkel?
Yes, of course.
So I just changed it and I put sound of violence. And I was just, and I knew I liked the sound of that, just the title of it, the sound of violence. Don't know why, I just liked it. And from there, I just started to write all this stuff. It just came out. It was like I was picking the words out of the air. It just came out. It's like a poem. It's like a poem.
Yeah, of course.
And and then Philippe came, he picked me up, and I said, Philippe, I think I've written a really good song. And we went into the studio. They had the backing track, or a bit of a backing track, and I sang these words that I'd just written like an hour before. Oh, my heart taking me back to blue and falling into my own senses, and all. Another night, another day, it's better this way. Let the music play and all that stuff. The sun goes down, yeah. I feel like I wanna be inside of you. Now the Cassius period, which was like about 20 years ago now. So, 2001, 2002. So what you have to remember also was that because Cassius were from France and Paris, so at that period was a very important period for electronic dance music, because what I call the French Revolution of electronic music, you had that period. That's when Daft Punk came, Cassius came, Air, they came, Saint Etienne, Super Disca, all these great sort of, for some reason, it's like the French electronic music scene just exploded, and it changed the world. It changed it changed electronic music, because in Paris, when I said that I was with these guys, I was with Philippe Zadar, Boombass, Thomas Bangalter, Falcon, these people. They were all friends. They all hung out together. They all sort of had dinner together. They were very competitive, of course. They were, you had like Cassius on one side, you had Daft Punk on the other side, and they were making their music. They were in the studio doing this. It's like Boca Juniors and River Plate. They were on that side, they were on that side. But they'd come together and play each other their music, what they were doing at the time. So they say, oh, listen to this. This is what I've just got, these new beats. Oh, okay. And they try and make some beats better than them. Oh, I've got these new beats. Oh, and okay, I'll try and make some beats better than them. and it was like that, But it was all good natured, good fun. And that's why it was so good. So for me to play a small, very small part of that, but I was there. I was there. I made the song. So a song like "Sound of Violence." I remember, Philippe, he picked me up one morning, and he had a Volkswagen Golf, and he picked me up. It was a beautiful little car, and he had this CDR, a blank CDR, and it said on the CDR it said desk mix. And he said, Steve, I have this CD. Thomas gave me this CD last night, Thomas Bangalter. He gave me this CD of a desk mix of a song that they were working on in the studio. Now remember, so we were working on the Cassius second album, number 2, called Au Rev. And Daft Punk were working on Discovery. Yeah? So he had this CDR. He said, Thomas gave me this CDR last night. I want to play it to you. And I was okay, all right. So we put the CDR in the CD player in the car, sun was shining, and driving down the streets of Paris to the studio. And he turned it up, and it was a desk mix of Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
And they were just like halfway through the track. They'd not finished it. They had not, they were just like a demo.
Oh, well.
Like a demo.
Like a demo.
So it's like, to me, because I was such a fan of Daft Punk, even then, remember, this is before they got big, super big.
Yes.
They were just,
The beginning.
the beginning. So I look back at it now, and that's almost like being shown some sketches of the Mona Lisa or something.
Yeah. It's like you have the opportunity to be there in that moment. Yeah.
Which is, and it obviously only looking back now because of what they became, you think, wow. But even at the time when they played that and it came on and that sound, how the song goes, that big drum thing and stuff, and we were like, wow, this is amazing. And we knew when we got to the studio on our song, we were working on Sound of Violence. I said, Philippe, I think we need more bass.
But just talking about your career, then we have to talk about that hit, World Hold On.
Hold on, instead of messing with our future, open up inside.
Yeah.
We know that it's a very popular song, but I think that the things that I love from that song is the lyric. The message that song gave to us is I love it so much. So let's talk about that song, that hit. Please tell me about your work with Bob Sinclar.
So Bob, he got my phone number from this sweet guy Axwell, if you know Axwell from the Swedish House Mafia, Axwell. And I knew of Bob. I knew of him for years. He was quite in dance music. He was quite a big artist anyway. Even at the time. And he got my number. I got a phone call, and it was Bob on the phone. Hi, Steve, it's Bob. And he got my number from Axwell, and he was producing an album. And Bob, what he is, he's a great producer. He's a fantastic producer. And what Bob is good at, really good at, he knows very clearly the kind of thing that he wants. Which is very important when you're a producer, to know what you want to do, what you want to hear, how you want something to sound. And he said to me on the phone, I'm doing this album, and I love what he did on the Cassius. So the Cassius thing led him to me, because he did a mix of that as well, of course. Oh. And this is what I mean by the Cassius thing being important, because it brought other people. So it brought Axwell to me, it brought Michael Gray and Bob Sinclar and Robbie Rivera, all these people. And so he said to me on the phone, I'm doing this album and I want to work with you. I know you write your own songs. I'm after some songs that are kind of, it was quite specific about the kind of thing that he wanted to do, And I said, okay. I knew what he was doing. He'd just done Love Generation. He did that song. So I knew what I kind of figured out the kind of vibe he was looking for. Mm-hmm. And, but I did say, like I said to anybody, I kind of write what I write, and if you like it, great. If you don't like it, no sweat,
Great too.
But, of course, that's the truth. That's what Steve Edwards does. I just do my thing, So if people want to work with me, they want what I do, you understand? So I went upstairs and I got a guitar like this one. And and because I write all my songs on guitar, or a lot of my songs I write on guitar, and I suppose that's where I get my kind of vibe and my flow, because I write in a different way. I don't write with beats. I don't write with like a structure 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
So I'm more kind of floaty, more vibey. And then when I come to record my vocals, I'm still in that kind of floaty, vibey way, slightly behind the beat, slightly in front of the beat. So I have my style. When people hear me, oh, that's a Steve Edwards song, And I wrote this song, and pretty quickly, to be honest with you. Open up your heart, what you know, and all those things. I wanted to write a protest song, So this one, World Hold On. I want, from what Bob was telling me and what he wanted, I wanted to write something about a universal love, a universal kind of idea that we can do better. But I didn't want it to be too soft. And then it was like, open up your heart, what do you feel? Open up your heart, what do you feel? The Big Bang may be a million years away. So what I was talking about was, because remember, this was like post 9/11. So the big terrorist explosion happened, and Al-Qaeda and all those things was happening around the world. And it felt like the world was a pretty dangerous place. And there was a lot of famine around in Africa and in Asia and places like that. And you felt like a lot of governments weren't listening to their people and all those things, as we know. So I just wanted to do my own little protest song in my own way. And so in the chorus, World Hold On, World Hold, the title, it's there in the title. World, hold on a minute. Just relax, just take a minute and think about what you're doing. That was the idea of the song, And, one day you will have to answer to the children of the sky. I think that bit at the end of the chorus was the bit that really, I think that made all the difference.
Yes.
It sounds really nice, doesn't it? One day you will have to answer to the children of the sky. It sounds, the melody is nice. And, but the children of the sky, I always remember, this is so funny. So the record label, when they were promoting the record, and they kept saying yes, and they put this PR out saying, oh yes, Steve wrote this song about, being together and all the children and loving all the children and all this kind of stuff. And I never said any of that. That's what they said. I never said any of that. But I understood why they did that, because when I wrote it, for me, what it was actually about, and not many people can know, the children of the sky are the children who have died. Whether through war, through famine, through neglect, the children of the sky are the literally in heaven, looking down on us. That's what I meant by it, because one day we will have to answer to the children of the sky.
Yeah,
we're answering to them. Now, that's heavy. When I say it like that, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? But obviously I couldn't say, to the world, hey, this is what the song's about. It's about dead kids.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So I had to just kind of make it, and so, on the guitar, just, so, you got, hold on, instead of messing with our future, open up inside, world, hold on. One day you will have to answer to the children of the sky. It's a beautiful sounding song.
So catchy.
But the message is like, oh wow, that song in particular was changed my life and my children's lives, and
Of
and
course,
people,
yeah.
you know, that love the song. You know, I appreciate everything that, you know, my fans around the world that have followed me from that song and from Cassius as well. But I understand that that song in particular, Will Hold On, is something that resonates, and it has stayed with people, you know.
You are now doing more music, so talk about your new stuff for this year.
Well, I've got well, obviously because of lockdown, we had the lockdown, and I was ill as well for a couple of years, you know, so I've been kind of under the radar for about 3 years now, really, including lockdown. So during lockdown, I was putting a little project together, like a little lockdown project together, and I have these kind of crazy ideas to do new things and things that are kind of different. I don't like to do the same thing all the time.
Okay.
I think maybe that's the reason I'm still doing what I'm doing, because I'm not just the same. You know, you change and you adapt to new surroundings and, you know, the new environment and what have you. So I've always been quite a big science fiction fan. Sci-fi movies. Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. Even since I was a kid.
Oh.
You know, so anything to do with space, whether it's Star Wars or Blade Runner or
Blade
you know,
Runner, yeah.
you know, all these old animations and cartoons and stuff. So in some ways, I'm actually a bit of a geek, you know, when it comes to sorry about that. When it comes to, you know, science fiction and things. So I wanted to do something that was kind of like a concept about like a futuristic thing. So me and a friend of mine, we came up with this idea that it's centered on this kid who was about a little bit like Anakin Skywalker. So he's about 16, 17-year-old kid.
Okay.
And he lives in like an old apartment block, and he's got a single parent, and his dad has disappeared, and it's like 100 years in the future. So imagine like Blade Runner. Imagine a mixture of Blade Runner and Star Wars.
Yes,
That kind of
yes.
thing. And so we wrote these songs, quite electronic and stuff, but it sounded like we wrote an album worth of songs in lockdown, and they sound like a soundtrack to a movie. I didn't realize it at the time. I was just making the songs, but then when I kind of sat back and listened to the songs in sequence, they sounded like a soundtrack to different parts of a film, of a movie. Oh, right, that's the bit when this happens, and that's the bit when that happens, and that's the bit when that happens. And so what I want to do is like, I've kind of gone the other way around. So I feel like I've written the soundtrack, now I've got to make the film to fit the soundtrack, you know,
Yeah,
which is quite ambitious. It's a bit mad.
Yes, a lot of curiosity, you know, with that kind of idea.
Yes, of course. And also what we have to, as well, because the way that music is now, and as I was saying at the beginning, that it's really, it's never been harder to kind of have a career in music. So you have to find different ways to sort of get your music across. And I think an interesting way is if you can put it either with a film or with an animation or something. So it's a visual thing as well. Kind of how Daft Punk did it as well. You know, it's that thing where you're listening with your ears, of course, but then you're looking with your eyes at the same time. And you're like, oh, so like video, like cool videos or whatever. So it could be just like a series of cool videos, but that's what I'm doing now. So the project is called Astrals. So that's ASTRELS, Astrals. Okay. And I'll send you something. I'll send you. I'll send you a link to one of the tracks. Of course. As soon as you hear it, you'll understand what I'm saying. Now I've explained that. Yeah. You'll listen. I think you listen to the song and you okay. You'll picture
Well, you know,
Oh, right, in the
I like
mind.
I love this premiere, you know, so I wanna watch it, I wanna listen.
Yeah, but it's very much like Blade Runner. So it's like, you know, when I say it's in the future, it's, if you can imagine, it's like post-apocalyptic. It's like it's the world is similar. Maybe something like there's the shortage of water, or maybe there's, you know, a lot of natural resources. It's basically how the way that we look like we're going.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
you know, let's face it. You know, the rainforests are being destroyed, and you know, and where are the natural? You know, there's not as much oil. That's why there's electric cars now, and all those things. It's happening now in our lifetime. We're seeing it happen. You know, so who knows in 100 years from now, which is not long, who knows what it's going to be like? Who knows? And it's about this kid and what he wants to do. He's within this world, you know. So it's very Blade Runner-y, very dark, very kind of, you know, there's artificial intelligence and all that kind of stuff. And maybe there's like a secret organization that's trying to build like a space station, or somewhere where people can live. They're looking for another planet because they know the Earth is dying, but they're not telling us. They're not telling you. They're not telling me.
No.
But they know, you know. And there's a secret organization that are bringing in all the important people and saying, right, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to, you know, in the year 20 whatever. We're going to get, you know,
but with a little sugar, you know.
With a little sugar, exactly. You know.
Yeah,
and so that's one of the projects I've been working on. Astrals. It's very interesting. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah.
You know, I don't have words, because it's like a dream come true, you know, because, you know, your music when I was child, you know, it was like, oh my God, I love that music. I love that music. And now I'm here, you know, now I'm here talking with you. So
no, it's wonderful. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. You know, I appreciate you reaching out and asking me to have a chat with you, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you'll have to let me know what's going on.
Of course.
What's going on in Argentina.
Of course, then. Now, thank you very much for your time. I wish you all the best. I just keep in touch, okay?
Thank you. Gracias. Adios.
Adios.
Adios, everyone.